am the one. The motherfucking tap filter in my cup. For the luck and sippy cup on my temple taco tuck. In my fucking luck. In my tongue. Hancock in the motherfucking tap filter. Mm, 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 mm. Mm, 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 mm. So today is Wednesday. We actually missed last night. Unfortunately, we missed last night's Zoom. And well, we've been doing morning, every night. And we missed last night's Zoom. So we did make a couple songs last night and we didn't actually show up on the Zoom. So that's my fault. And it's kind of the intention moving forward. It wasn't the plan. However, it started to happen naturally, so I said, let's just keep going with it. Um, but we're going to, excuse me, look at today's charts Wednesday. We're going to talk about Leif Erikson and in the history lesson. And basically, we look back Tuesday. Tuesday played this order block. We actually sat out on Monday and Tuesday. As you can see, we did not take a single trade. And it is Wednesday. Still have not taken a trade this week. So that's something to point out. The thing is, we could have taken this trade on Monday. We didn't. And one thing about gold, what happened was it really surprised us. It was consolidating. I was like, oh, it's going to be a slow week. Nope, it's not, but buddy, it's not going to be a slow week. And it just fucking took off. And I was like, damn. And so really, it looks like it made the high. I really am not a fan of this trade, although it might play out. This low wicked, and then it swept the low, and it technically did give the 15-minute hammer candle. So, I mean, it might play out. Also, if you look at the 5 minute, same thing, 5 minute hammer with engulfing candle, and it's already made a move of about basically almost 1 to 2. So, right here would be 1 to 2. And it's already made most of that move. So the setup is over. It's is this going to keep going? I personally don't know. Like I said, do we ever really know what's going to happen? I would love to see it come up to this region up here and then make a sell so we can actually buy it. But, if it's going to do this thing where it just keeps taking off and it never pulls back, you just got to fucking find an entry, really at the end of the day. Uh, and so we'll see what happens. Definitely not entering this at this point. It's a little bit too late of an entry. I don't like chasing. So we'll see what the price action looks like tomorrow, and then we're going to talk about Leif Erikson. So it's Wednesday, Thursday here is a lot can happen. I would love to see gold stay in between this buy range and this sell range. I would love to see gold to maintain this area for Tuesday morning. Okay, I would love to see that. Um, Problem is with gold is by tomorrow it might be at 49.50. So what's really going to happen here? Is it just going to take off? It's gone forever. So some of you might be like, hey, I'm just going to enter right here and I'm just going to assume it's going to break the all-time highs and I'm just going to hold. Okay, well, maybe you could do that. Maybe you could do that and that would be a good trade. I probably being a little bit too passive here, probably a little bit too conservative. However, I just started looking at the charts last Thursday, so I've only been looking at the charts for 5 days, and so I've been sitting out and watching it, and I have not traded since I think it was Christmas Eve was my last trade. Matter of fact, it was the 18th. December 18th was my last trade of the year, and then so I took a full month off. So I'm definitely like slowing down and like just watching the charts, getting in rhythm with the charts, and then I'll probably take a trade. Most likely I'm going to take a trade tomorrow on Thursday, maybe, and then possibly on Friday. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, I sat out. I did not trade Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, and this trade definitely happened. Um, I've also been sleeping. So the reality is I've been sleeping in. So whenever I'm not trading, I've typically like I don't necessarily wake up early because I don't have a reason to wake up early. And so I'm kind of thinking about adjusting my routine to where like if I do wake up early, I'm always gonna be on the charts and I'll catch the move. That's kind of what I've been thinking about adjusting my routine. So I'm thinking about, if I'm gonna do that, it's gonna be a long-term plan, not just a one-time thing. But it's not something I've committed to at this time. I did a lot of late night sessions last year, and so I'm adjusting my sleep schedule, and it's a process. It's definitely a process. Um, and so what I wanted to talk about though was on the history lesson today was Leif Erikson. Okay, Leif Erikson, we're gonna tie it into the charts and see how it connects, and we'll see what happens, man, because if you look, and so usually we do one, if I do the trading Zoom in the morning and I'll do the history lesson at night, we just did the Bible lesson last time. And so we could go over the Bible again and, that type of stuff. We got the Bible here, we got the 1 year Bible. Um, and we could end it and do back-to-back Zooms, like, and just, do the second Zoom right after and that might be what we do. But wanted to show you briefly, guys, what happened was gold basically gapped up on Sunday. It consolidated all throughout Monday, and then it just took off Monday afternoon and all the way until Wednesday London session, and it dropped for New York session. It dropped about 800 900 pips, 800 pips on it dropped 800 pips for New York session. Okay. And so you probably could have predicted that sell. Um, Once again, it's very hard to predict sells at the all-time highs. I don't know why people do it, but for me, I'm not a big fan of selling at all-time highs unless a zone has been established. So, right there, that kind of made a move, and I would love to see a double bottom here. And me personally, what I love to see is come up, come down, give us a little consolidation, and then give us a wick like that. Boom. Then I'm in right there. Enter, take profit up here. That's what I like. That's what I like to trade. If it just when it's just like, oh look, I'm gonna take off one little tap and then I'm gone. Like it's like, yo, you didn't give us any time to think, my brother. Chill. And so that's shit you got to be fucking ready for. You got to be paying attention because you got to look how fast that order block happened. Like, because there's order blocks like this. It's on the 15 minute. It happened at 7:17 and it came back and hit it at 9:17. That was 2 hours. Okay. And then if you look at the higher time frame, there's other order blocks that they don't play out for 6 months. Okay. And so it's like some of them are 2 hours, some of them are 6 months. So think about that. And that's what I'm thinking, guys. And then the Leif Erikson we'll talk about this on another Zoom, and you'll see this, and it'll probably be linked. We're going to talk about Leif Erikson. So I'm going to briefly overview the Leif Erikson and talk about that. And Leif Erikson was basically it looks like he was from Iceland, traveled to Greenland, and then he traveled to North America, specifically Canada and the island of Newfoundland, and was basically a Viking that spread Christianity. And he basically did that 1,000 years after Jesus and 800 years after St. Nicholas, and which would have been 1,800 years after King Midas. Okay. So those would have been that's the time frame, and he looks exactly like Jesus as well, which is kind of interesting. He kind of looks exactly like Jesus, and he had a Viking village, and they basically went on a ship to discover new land, and so we're going to be going over that a little bit deeper, going to look deeper into that research and see who this Leif Erikson guy actually is. For whatever reason, his name came up to me today in spirit. It said Leif Erikson. I don't know why I got the idea. Don't know why I got the thought. I was like, okay, who even is Leif Erikson? I thought to myself, I've heard about Leif Erikson in history class. I said, I've I've heard about Leif Erikson on SpongeBob. I watched Leif Erikson on SpongeBob. There was a Leif Erikson episode on SpongeBob, and I was like, I probably watched it as a kid. Who is Leif Erikson? And so think about that, Iceland, Greenland, and Canada in that area. Um, and so going back to the charts here, there's really not much going on right now. We just made a huge move, and our focus is trading in our trading window. That is our focus. And if you want to look, what we could have done today if we were trading, which we were not, is possibly, now we don't know, but possibly we could have maybe, bought here, that's a scalp, close here, the sell here, sold here, whatever. But the reality is that's not how I trade. I don't just take every scalp. I don't just move every single movement. And then I think to myself, what would I have done? Um, it's hard to say. Like it's hard to say. I definitely probably maybe would have taken this buy right here and hopefully taken profit when I hit that, and that would have been 300 pip move. So I can't say for sure if I would have, but because I was not awake and alert, and I want to be very accurate on just not would have, should have, but did I? And well, I wasn't even awake at that time, so obviously I didn't even see it. And so, and then at this point, to me, this looks like a this looks like, hey, look, this is a break of structure. This is a lower high, okay? And so that's a lower high, okay? And this, wow, that is some good handwriting. Jesus Christ. This is a lower high, and this looks like a lower low. So I wouldn't be buying the lower low. And so I really wouldn't buy the lower low. It just looks kind of awkward. It looks kind of awkward, and to me, this looks like a sell structure to me. And even if it's temporary like this, so hey, whatever, it only sold once down there, boom, hit, and then it came right back up. So even if it does something like that again, where it's consolidating like this, da 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 da, and then it just does one little drop and then comes up. Like even if that's what it does, I would still consider this a sell structure, even though it's probably not gonna drop that far in the grand scheme of things. But if you look at the fractals here, this drop from red to blue is a solid 800 pips. So that's a lot, okay? And even though it looks like it barely moved because the move they just made was so massive, it just made a 3,000 pip buy. And so put it into perspective, like look how big of a drop this is from top to bottom compared to the drop that compared to this. You know what I'm saying? Like look how small the other one is compared to it. Okay. And then now even look to here, how big is this drop? Right? And it was more sideways. It took a longer period of time. And so compared to the last two drops, this one was actually pretty sharp, okay, compared to the last two. And it was right after a long move up. So to me, that's telling me bearish price action. However, I wouldn't expect it to drop for very far, okay? Because, we're in all-time highs. There has been no proof whatsoever that it's going to drop. So I don't see why you're trying to sell it. I don't see what's the point of selling it unless you're going to get in, get out, okay? Because there's just no point. And so I would be looking for buys, of course, on the short term, like such as maybe tonight or tomorrow morning, we might be seeing a sell, okay? We might be seeing a sell. And but I would imagine by Friday we're going to see more buys, but what do we know? Look at the weekly. It's already made. So of course this is kind of sloppy. There's lines on the chart. It has, let me see if I can get a clean chart here. Okay, good. Oh, there's always a chart. Okay, we need to clean up one of these charts. Jesus Christ. It's a little slow, it's laggy, kind of annoying. Um, oh, Jesus, bro. Um, seriously. Okay. Anyway, the weekly candle is pretty big already, and it's only Wednesday. So the question then becomes, and so I'll probably go ahead and erase this one because I've already have it on another chart. I'll erase this one. This one is okay, that's the one we just did. Okay, that's our intraday. We should probably color coordinate these. Um, and then this is our higher time frame one. And look how big the weekly candle already is. Okay. The weekly candle is already pretty big. So compared, it's about as big as this one right here, this candle. And so what happened last time, it made a wick and then it turned around the next week. We don't know what's going to happen. It's very possible it does drop next week, and this week could be a complete bullish week. It's going to take a lot for this candle to turn around and be a bearish candle. It's probably unlikely that this weekly candle becomes bearish. Probably unlikely. However, we could see a daily candle go bearish. Um, but that candle still looks bullish enough to where, I mean, and it hasn't closed yet. So it hasn't closed, but it looks like it just doesn't look like a reversal candle. Okay, so it kind of just looks like the next candle is going to be bullish also, to me, and in my opinion, that's what it kind of looks like. It doesn't really look like it's going to turn around, and if it does turn around, we're thinking about, maybe coming back to this. Okay, maybe. Okay, maybe coming back to this area, and if that's where our previous consolidation was. So in a perfect world, in a perfect world, we'll see a drop below that little consolidation, and then we'll see a drop into this area right here. In a perfect world, I don't know if we're going to get that lucky, but if that does happen, that should be a pretty, good looking buy zone. Okay, in that area, 4,600. I don't know if we're going to get that lucky though, and it's going to drop that far. I don't know. And and so to me, if it looks ugly, if it looks like, well, gold's just gonna keep going up, I'll just buy it now. I'm not a big fan of that, to be honest with you. But if the opportunity presents and I'm paying attention, I'll catch an entry, I'll move my stop loss to break even, whatever, whatever. But I'm being a little bit hesitant because it's my first week, and I like to go through the motions a little bit. It's like if you're gonna go into a basketball season, you're gonna have some practices before you have a game, right? And so I'm mentally trading, but I'm not actually trading. I'm like thinking about what would I do here? What would I do in this situation? Well, I'd love to see it come down to 4,600, but and we do have an hour, and so I don't think you can technically call this an order block. Um, However, I don't know. I'm probably gonna have to go study some ICT. There's a lot of information to go through, but like I said, I have the basics of what I use that works well for me, and there's certainly a lot more to learn. There always is. Um, but I definitely would love to see maybe it come into this area, and if it does sell off that area, that would be to me. Um, we're probably going to need to see a little bit of consolidation before it drops. So, like, it's probably not just going to go straight down, is what I'm saying, because now, if you look to the left, and if there was already a zone, like let's say there was already a zone, um, let's say there was price action right here at that, like right up here. Let's say like there was a huge daily order block right here on this box I just created. I'll make it a purple box. See that purple box? Like if there was price action over there and then boom, if this was rejecting an order block, yeah, I would expect a drop. But because this is in no man's land, this is in no man's land. There's nothing telling us it's going to turn around. There's really nothing we can really think about. Maybe a Fibonacci, what retracement is this? Maybe the seasonal number you could expect. Think about the month. The month is a very bullish month, and it's been an extremely bullish monthly. Um, Extremely bullish on the monthly. And so if you look at the month, uh, it has been probably one of the biggest months in gold history. I mean, seriously, that actually might be the biggest monthly candle in the history of gold. And I think it is. I actually think January 2026 has been the biggest monthly candle in the history of gold. And that is a 5,000 pip candle. The second biggest candle was down here in September, which was a 4,000 pip candle. Okay. September, 4,000 pips. January, so far, 5,000 pips already, guys. And it's only the 21st. This is the biggest monthly candle in the history of gold. Okay. And so what do you expect after that? Probably more, probably more bulls. But you never know. It could come back. It could come back. How far? And so think about it. If it, like, let's say in a weird scenario where for some reason gold becomes bearish, again, how far is it going to come back? Seriously, let's think like realistically. If gold makes a hell of a bearish fucking run here, it's just going to be a pullback. And so I still think it could be the biggest bearish drop of all time. Blue line one, that's where it could come back to. And then maybe this area. But if it's like a hell of a bear run, it's still probably only coming back to like 43.50. Okay. So that's like basically retrace the entire the entire bullish candle that it just made, basically retrace that entire candle. And that's probably as far as it's going to come back. Okay. Like, is it going to come down, underneath this area? Probably not. It's probably not going down there. And so I personally think if in the case scenario, the biggest sell off in gold history, it's still only coming down to like right there, 43.50. Okay. And so is like what are the odds of that actually happening? Like seriously think about that. And how long will that take? So it'll take an entire month. And so if gold does sell, it's personally gonna buy, I think it's gonna buy right here. And then we're gonna see, does it reject here or does it just go? Okay. Does it just go from there? And so most likely it's going to probably buy off of this area twice. Okay. And I just really doubt it breaks this. I just really don't think it's going to break that. And if it comes back the second time, it's probably definitely going to be the move. Okay. And so coming down to this blue area is just like a dream. A dream, price manipulation, news, flash crash, it'll still probably only come to this blue zone, like in the worst case scenario. And so that for us is good because now we get a better entry. And so think about the swing trade that we took in December was off of this order block. It was right here. Okay. It was right there. That was the entry. And so that entry should be safe. And I now realize we took profit on that a little bit early. To be honest with you, we probably could have held that a little bit longer. Dang, we really closed it about halfway through the move. We closed it in this consolidation, which at the time looked like a good close, and now just a week later, not even a week later, it's literally, yeah, about a week later, it's already that much further. Another 2,000 pips. And so that's a whole nother, move. And so I still think this zone is what we're looking at. And it's possible, guys, that it doesn't come down. Okay, so just think about that. It doesn't have to come down there. And so gold might just take off from here, guys, and gone. Okay, and it might be gone, and this structure means nothing. And so theoretically, you could enter, and you could have and if you would have entered, you probably would have wanted to enter around right here, 48.20, at really, and then now, you're probably putting your take profit maybe like right there, 1 to 3 intraday, boom, you're in profit. At this point in time, it's a little too late. Okay, you're up here, you're in that 1 to 1 range. Do I really want to enter that? Like, you could enter that, and it's probably going to keep going. It's probably not even going to sell at all. It's probably just going to keep going all-time highs. But to me, it's like, I'm good. I'm good on that, man. I'm good on that. I'll just wait for the next setup, and I'm not missing out on anything by not taking this trade. Probably being a little bit too conservative, to be honest. It's probably going to make a move up, but. We'll see what happens, dude. I would love to see it come back down to 4,600, but that might just be a dream. And that's going to be most likely probably hard for it to drop that far. So I'm not really sure what could happen to make it drop that far, but that would be the next zone I would look to buy. And if it doesn't make a move down there, I'm not a fan of trading when it's like this. Okay. I just don't like it. It's too unpredictable. It's not what I like to trade. I like to trade the range. I like to trade, right? Like this right here. Hey, look, I got consolidation, you know, and then, oh, look, sweep with the wick. See, I love that. That's my trade. That's what I take. Okay. So if gold does that again and it goes, oh, yeah, 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 boom, wick, I'll take that trade. I'll buy right here. Boom, and I'll take it. But right now, it just this. Oh, yeah, buy here. Oh, buy here. Oh, buy here. I don't do that, dude. I don't trade like that. If it does this, ooh, boom, I'll buy that. But am I gonna just buy here because it could come here. Okay, so why am I buying? You know what I mean? Why am I buying here on a 28% retracement when I could wait for the 50 or 61? And so look, sometimes when gold just takes off, it doesn't even want to pull back, dude. It don't want to give you a retracement at all. Okay, it just says fuck you. Like it's gone, dude. It don't even come back. Like this right here, even look at this. From here to here, what type of fib is that? And so just take a look. Okay, that's only 38 to almost 50 fib. That's all it gave. Okay. However, if you look at that fib and if you look to the left, there is a nice 1 hour order block juicy right there. And so you could have had an order block right there. It just when you trade order blocks, it makes life simple, man. And you take profit, just put your take profit, I don't know, above this high over here. And you could have held that, boom, and your take profit's there. It's good enough. And so you start thinking about day trading, you start thinking about how many trades do I need to take per week? You start thinking about the percentages. What am I risking? Am I risking 1%? Am I risking 5%? Am I risking 3%? What am I risking? What's my reward? And then you start thinking, how much money is in my account? You think, okay, if I want to grow it in a month, what percentage can I grow it in a month? And so if you're risking, let's say 3 to 5%, okay, let's say 5%. If you're risking 5%, and your reward is 10 to 15%, and you catch three solid wins per week, 4 weeks, you're going to double your account in a month. Okay, so just do that math. You're going to double your account in a month just by taking three solid trades per week. And maybe even only two, because if you're winning 15% on one win and you win twice and you don't lose at all, you're going to go 30% in a month or 30% in a week, sorry. And then you do 30% in a week. Let's say you do that three times. Okay, three times out of four, you're going 30%. That's 90% increase in a month. And then you still have one more week to grow that 10%. You only need one trade that fourth week. Boom, now you have a 100% increase in 1 month. And if you double your account every single month, okay, how long is it going to take for, $1,000 to turn into 10,000? Okay, $1,000 to 10,000, well, that'll take about, 3 to 4 months if you double it every single month. Okay, and you might be a little aggressive and you might try to triple it every month instead of double. You say, look, I want to I go to 1 to 10,000, and I'll go to 1 to 10,000 in a 1 month. Okay, 1 month and a half. Okay. And so last year we did a 3,000 to 10,000, and it only took about 2 weeks. Okay. And we did that twice, and then the second time took about 6 weeks. Okay. And just think about that stuff. And so how long does it take? You should know, okay, this is the risk I can take. If you know your winning percentage is better than 50%, okay? If your winning percentage is over 50 and your risk reward is 1 to 2 or better, you are automatically profitable. You know you're going to be profitable, and just execute. And so if your winning percentage is like 65 to 75 in that window, like if you're above 70% accurate, like I want to do the math for you and show you. And so think about this, okay? If you are, let's say you're winning, and I'll go ahead and change the color. You win, let's say your win is, and so because of gold, and usually gold stop loss right now are like, 50 to 100 pips. So let's just go ahead and say your wins are 200, okay? And your losses are 75, and that's about pretty accurate for gold right now. And your loss is seven on intraday position that you're taking profit at the first place you could take profit. Win plus 200, loss minus 250, and let's say you win. Let's go ahead and make you win 3 out of 5, okay? Which is honestly, you could do a lot better than that. 3 out of 5, I honestly, and after looking at this stuff, it's like you win three, you lose two. Like that's like you're being aggressive and you just took some dumb trades, but you still ended up on profit. And so, but just understand if you go 3 for 5, I want you to understand how profitable you are. Okay. If you go, and let's be realistic here. You didn't close at the 200 mark. Let's say you closed at the 120 mark because you closed early. Let's make some realistic scenario. Okay. This one wasn't 200. It was, and let's see, instead of 200, let's go ahead and make this win, 150. Just be realistic, okay? Let's not say you got the full win. And let's go ahead and make it you made 150. Okay, but I want you to do the math here. 200 plus 150 is 350 plus 120 is 470. And the positive 4, okay, 150 in the negative. Okay, 150 in the negative, and which is overall 320. in the positive. And so now you're thinking, okay, what was my lot size? Have a consistent lot size. And so do the math. 320 pips time, let's say you have a point 10. A point 10, okay, times 320, okay, is how much money, guys? That is 3,200. And so if you had a point 10 lot size, okay, $3,200, that's when if you're risking 750. That's if you're risking $750. And so that's like if you have a prop firm, that's like a prop firm, a 100K prop firm, you could make 3,200 a week. A 100K prop firm. And so there are 100K prop firms that you can use for it costs about somewhere between 450 to 650, probably like $500 on average. $500 on average. If you can pass that, get 10% in a month, okay, you can go ahead and use this. And so you can make 3,200 in 1 week. And so let's say if you do that 4 weeks in a row, okay, you're making that's going to be $12,800 a month, okay, off of a $500 investment, okay, off of $500 investment, $12,800 a month, okay, off of a $500 investment. Now you got to take minus 20% because they take a fee. And so 20%, that's going to be 256 minus 200 minus 2,560. And that's going to be, let's go ahead and make that 10,000, 240. 10,240 is what you will end up with. Um, and so my dog is barking, so let me go ahead and get the dog. And so 10,240 in a month. And let's say the 100K prop firm $500, let's say you failed 4 times. Okay. Let's say you messed up 4 times in a row. And so 500 times 4 is you lost 2,000. Okay. You lost 2,000. And then on the fifth try, you hit it big and you had a good month. Boom. You made $10,240. You are net positive $8,240. That's your net positive, okay? And so it took you for $2,000 to figure out how to make money with this account. But on that fifth try, you hit the jackpot. Boom. Okay. And so even lower it even more. Let's say you had a $3,000 week once and you said, okay, I'm done. I'm taking my profit. I'm not risking it. Okay, good. Now your net profit is still 1,200 in a month. And all you did was show up to the charts from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. or 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Okay, that's all you did. 5 days a week. That's 10 hours. 10 hours a week. So you're telling me I can do it part-time. I can do part-time 10 hours in a week and I can make $3,000 from just 10 hours a week. I make 3,000 a week on 10 hours. You know what? If you can do it once, you can do it twice. So why don't you do it every week? If you do the same, if you have the perfect week once, you can have the perfect week twice. If you live the perfect week 4 weeks in a row, you're going to start to realize that you're living the perfect life, my friend. 3,000 a week, 4 times in a row, you made 12,000 that month, minus the fee. This is the script for 10,000 a month. 10,000 a month. And so here's the fractal, guys, and this is what you don't realize. And this is what people, don't realize is if you can do it, and there's people that do this, guys, if you can do this on a prop firm, if you can make 10,000 a month on one 100K account, you can scale up. You could have 500K accounts. And you could have a trade copier and you could just take the trade once. Now you're making 50,000 a month. Okay? You're making 50,000 a month off of 10 hours a week. Okay? What the hell is going on here? Okay, I don't know what is going on with my text. Okay, 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 and now we're talking about 50,000 a month. 50,000 a month on 10 hours a week. Okay, 50,000 a month, and that's just one. You could have four 500K accounts on four different prop firms. Times it by four, and now 200,000 a month. Now we're talking about 200,000 a month. And this is a serious thing. This is a serious, and here's the funny thing, guys. The funny thing is, you're doing nothing different. Okay? The thing you did to make 3,000 a week is the same exact thing you're going to do to go ahead and make 50,000 a week. It's the exact same thing. You're not doing anything different. You're taking the same exact trade, you're marking the same exact chart, you're doing the same exact setup. Okay? It's like imagine you're in the gym and you shoot free throws every morning for the rest of your life. One day you're going to end up on a team and that team's eventually going to go to a championship game and you're going to shoot that same exact free throw in the championship. Okay? But the reality is it's the same free throw. You've done it a million times. Like, and so that's why you look at it and you look at some of the numbers I've talked about, and I'm talking about 100,000 a month, I'm talking about a million a month, I'm talking about 10 million a month. Why not? Seriously, why not? It's the same exact trade. Okay, and now you're thinking about, okay, taxes, okay, the IRS, okay, I got to make sure I have a system here for if I make too much money, I got to put the money into a tax account. And okay, can I trust the prop firms? Are these prop firms going to last? And then, okay, what about my live account? Okay, yeah, there's a lot of things to think about. But the main thing you got to think about is just show up every morning, 2 hours, maybe three. Okay, I kind of like when I do show up, I like to do the extra mile and I'll show up for three. I mean, 2 hours, usually 8 to 10 is good enough. But sometimes and so then you look back, okay, and you say, look, what time are the entries? What time are the entries? How many pips were the entries? And and so you look back, and I did this. This is last week, and so I can go back and look at the time the entries happened. By the way, I wasn't trading last week. This was back testing. So it's Friday, 700 pip move it made. What time was the entry? It looked like it was about 8 a.m. 300 pips on Thursday, entry was at 8 a.m. 400 pips on Wednesday, entry was at about 9 a.m. Okay, 600 pips on Tuesday, entry was at about 9 a.m. Okay, 400 pips, and we're on the hour, so it's not going to be exact here, but 400 pips on Monday, entry was about 8 a.m. So it's always somewhere between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. And sometimes, you get two entries in a day. And so it's like, think about it. If you just take one trade a day and you execute and you're tracking it and you say, let's say, look, right now it's 2026. Okay, this year you may not get there, but if you can track for the next 5 years and you're consistent 5 years in a row, I mean, where are you going to be in 5 years? Seriously, like if you don't miss a single day of tracking for the next 5 years straight, where are you going to be? And then zoom out even more and think, what about 10 years? Okay, what about 10 years from now? Okay, what about 20? Okay, now you're just getting like, okay, see, but it's the same thing. You're not doing anything different. It's like walking your dog, riding your bike, brushing your teeth, and it's like checking your phone in the morning. And a lot of times, it's like, and I may be a little bit on the lazy side, just to be honest with you. I'm a little bit more on the lazy side. I like to try to find the easiest way to do things. And so a lot of times I'll just take a glance at my phone. Does it look like it's ready for entry or not? I'll enter, boom, and then I'll just close it and then I'll check like in a few hours and I'm in profit. Sometimes I lost, but most of the time I'm in profit. And then I'm not even staring at the chart. I just take a quick little peek, enter a pending order, and boom, I'm good to go. And it's like that's all you really need to do. And so you can even be at work, you go to the restroom and just take a look at it for like 2, 3 minutes, enter, and then go back to work. And you can take good trades in that bathroom at work. You don't have to be focused on the chart. I gotta lock in. And I've seen people like the hedge fund traders, and they're like, to me, I think they take it a little bit too far. I don't see what's the point of taking it that seriously, but I guess if you're trading hundreds of millions of dollars, you do. But still, to me, it's like it's not that complicated. What's the point of it's like you're making it harder than it needs to be. Like, and even ICT, and this is just my opinion, um, he really just talks about all these random details that apparently matter, and maybe they do, but it's like to me, it's like I don't even want to think about that stuff because it's just too complicated for me. And like maybe someday I'll learn it because it's just so advanced. It's gonna take forever, and it's just like I don't need all that information. Because all I'm saying is I found what I needed from ICT to form a strategy, but now it's like all this extra information. I can't. I don't know what to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just too much information. I don't need to overthink that. But if you feel like that's what you need to be confident in yourself, go for it. I personally would rather focus on the numbers. I would rather focus on my scale plan. I would say, hey, if I'm going to have a 100K account this month, how many months is it going to take for me to take that into 300,000? And if my 300,000, and then and then you look at YouTube, and there's these people that they say 100,000 a month with prop firms, And a lot of these people are like 20 years old, 21, 22, and you're just like, these guys are younger than me, and they're already making this money. And it's like, how did they figure that out? And so they just did it. Okay. And one of the guys that I listened to once, he was like, hey, why not? He says, stop be using conservative lot size on the prop firm. Use, go high risk because if you just win on one of your accounts, it's going to pay for the other three. Okay. Anyway, I don't necessarily recommend that, but uh, back to the point, I like the move gold made. You definitely could have taken that trade. You definitely could have taken the trade. Obviously, in hindsight's 2020 here. Hindsight's 2020, but this little trade looks like it played out for 1 to 2 already, and I love to take profit at 1 to 2. It actually played out 1 to 2.5. So that trade would have already hit, and it happened at this one happened 11:30. This one happened at 11:30, so it's a little bit later than typical. This one was at 9:20. And if you just entered at the close of that 5 minute candle, it would have given you a little 1 to 1 scalp. Um, but like I said, hindsight's 2020. I don't like to look back. It's like I would have done this, I should have done that. Well, yeah, anyone would have said they would have, but what do you actually do when it's live? What do you do when it's live? And I can tell you that we'll see what happens tomorrow on Thursday. And I hopefully it stays in between those red and blue zones. And hopefully we'll get an order block to form. We'll get some liquidity to sweep, and that type of stuff. And do the math. This is one of my trading journals, and it's just a template you can look at. There's probably a couple other templates I could do. This one's for a live account, not for a prop firm. So a prop firm might be different. The way you look at it, it might be different. Um, and the prop firms have rules, so you got to follow them. So there's a lot of details you got to think about. What are the rules, the procedures, and you might have a little bit of trial and error because you got to actually know all the rules. And so otherwise, they're going to make you reset. Okay, and so you got to make sure you know all the rules. And but the whole kind of principle is, it's like, don't worry about getting the prop firm, don't worry about making money from it. Focus on executing what you got to execute consistently. And then eventually your mind's going to be like, oh, I can handle a prop firm. I can handle it. But don't just jump right into a prop firm and expect yourself to flip it. Okay. Like you got to like know what you're doing. But if you want to, like if you have extra money to blow and you're like, fuck it, I'm gambling anyway on sports betting. I'm going to Vegas. I'm going to casino. Fuck it. I would say you're better off fucking risking it on an order block play than fucking, and sports betting is fun. It's part of the gambling world, but it's like, dude, an order block, it's literally gonna hit every time. Like seriously, like it's gonna hit. So if you're gonna get risky and gambling, I would do it on something like this, where the zone. And so right now, gold, of course, it doesn't have a lot of structure. So you know, it's January, guys. Keep this in mind. It's January. The best time to trade is like between March and September. Okay. Maybe even October. Like in that range, like spring and fall is the best time to trade. Just remember that. Summer, usually there's still good setups in summer as well, but especially spring and fall. And the summer is a good time as well, but spring and fall is like the best time. So and so right now we're a little bit early. Usually like Valentine's Day-ish is like a good time to be trading to like March, April, May. Definitely March. And so May, June, that's a good time. So and usually the winter, you don't really need to trade that much. Okay. And so that's typically how it works. And but when you do trade in the morning, 7, 8 a.m., boom, to like 10 a.m., boom, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., boom, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And if you show up before 8, it's because you're marking your chart. Usually the entry is between 8 and 10. That's usually when the entry is. Sometimes there's an entry early at 6 a.m., 5 a.m. It happens sometimes, but usually it will come back and give you a re-entry. Okay. And so either way, you don't need to trade for all 5 days. You could just trade 2 or 3 of the days or maybe 4, and that's gonna be good enough. Because even if you're going 2-0 or 3-0, compound that consistently, and that's going to be, good. Okay, that's going to be good. All right, so. That's going to be it, guys. I think that's going to be it for today. I could show you my top step, or I could show you my FTMO from last year, or my top tier. We'll probably do that another time, or we'll show it live. We'll show what we're doing live, and you'll see how we're doing it. And yeah, looking back now, it's like you kind of think, oh, I wish I would have entered that because that made a nice move. It did happen a little bit outside of my window, as you can see. So I wasn't really too antsy on entering that at that time of day. However, with gold, it doesn't really give a fuck what time of day it is sometimes. It made that big move from 2 p.m. to midnight yesterday. So it was not in the window whatsoever. However, the entry did happen in the window. So you could have held it. Um, it's a lot easier, in my opinion, to trade when there's zones to trade off of. There is the supply and demand. There's rejecting. There, all-time high trends is kind of difficult sometimes. So, okay, USD JPY, same thing kind of happening here in JPY. Um, as you can see, the thing that we're kind of talking about a lot is the liquidity sweeps. And so you notice, like, just notice that this order block right here, it did wick it. It goes in profit. And then what happens? It comes down and grabs the wick. Okay, it comes down and it wicks below this candle, this little candle. So it wicks, and that's the stuff you want to be looking for entry when it wicks like that. Okay, that's your entry. And then what happens again? Okay, it makes its move. Okay, okay. It comes down, equal lows. Okay, look, kind of sweeps it, but not quite. And then boom, it sweeps. Right here, boom, you enter there. That's where you enter. The sweep and then the engulfing right after. That's the engulfing after the sweep is money. Okay, that shit is money. And you could have taken it to the top here. 2.5 is good enough for me. 1 to 2.5 is good enough for me. Okay, so 1 to 2.5, what does that mean? So that's like you're risking 50 for basically 125, or you're risking 100 for 250. You're risking 200 for 500. Okay. It's a good enough risk to reward for me, meaning you're risking a little bit less than the reward will be if you win. So you're risking a little bit less. If you risk one, your reward is 2.5. And so that way you could lose twice in a row. And then the third time you win, you're going to make back all your profits and then some, all your losses and then some. And that's why risk to reward is so powerful because if you lose 50, you lose 50 and then you win 125, you're plus 25. You had a terrible start to the week. One win and two losses. Ah, that sucks, but you're still in profit. Did you see that? Like, but you're still in profit. It's like 1 and 2. If I go 1 and 2, to me, that's warm up. Like that's a warm up. I took two losses, I was just warming up. Okay, I took one win, two losses. That's a warm up. And now I'm going to come back with my fourth trade, make sure it's a winner because I'm warmed up now. And now you're going to take one win to end the week, and now you're going to go two wins and two losses on the week. You think, oh, that's break even. No, not with 1 to 2.5 risk reward. You're going to go minus 50, plus 125, plus 125 for a total of minus 100 plus 250. That's going to be plus 150 total. Okay. And so do the math. Plus 150 on a point 10 is $1,500 in a week, my friend. Point 10, $1,500. 0.01, it's going to be 100, my fault here, $1,515. And then let's say you are in, let's say you're dropping a point 2, that's going to be $3,000 in a week. And let's say if you're dropping a lot of times on those 100K prop firms, on gold, you can drop like maybe like a point 0.3. So it just depends on how volatile it is, how big your stop loss is, that type of stuff. Point 0.3, point 0.3 is going to go ahead and be 4,500. See, to me, 4,500 in a week is pretty good. Like that's pretty good, and then take that times four, 18,000 a month. 18,000 a month, you can live anywhere in the world. You can travel anywhere in the world anytime you want. You can travel you can travel completely full time. You can have and you can live in you can rent a really nice 5 or 6 bedroom in Colorado or Texas for like 2,500 a month. And and then you can travel the rest. You can travel every weekend if you want, and you can come back to beautiful Mountain View, and for just 18,000 a month. You don't even need 50,000 a month to do that. You barely even need 18,000 a month. You probably could do that with like 10 or 12,000 a month. Okay, but you're doing it. Key here is you're doing it online from your laptop 2 hours a day in the morning, and you're done at 10 a.m. Okay, you're done at 10 a.m. We are talking about 10 a.m. You are done working for the day because you made already enough money. And so now anything you do on top of that is because it is your joy, it is your bliss, it is your inspiration. It's what you feel called to do. It's what you want to do. Some days you'll explore, some days you'll say, look, you know what, I want to help people with this. Maybe you have another business that you do, and now you don't even need to make money from that business because you're making enough money from trading that it doesn't even matter. But the key here is discipline. You have to show up 8 to 10 every morning. Boom. That's New York session. That's Chicago Standard Time, 8 to 10. And so for some of you, it's London time. Go do London session, 2 hour window. Boom. Hit it. But for me, New York session, gold, 10 a.m., you're done. Okay. For the day. You have 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. You have 12 hours. The rest of the day, what are you going to do? Who even cares? I'm so happy we made enough money that we don't have to do anything today. And so now you're just going to naturally be creative. You're going to actually be thinking of all the things that you want to think about because you already made the money. You're not worried about money anymore. You made enough money and you're thinking about it. And you're like, 10 a.m. done working for the day. However, I love to work. We're meant to work, but we're also meant to enjoy life. So 10 a.m. I one of the things I like to do at 10 a.m. is go explore. I like to go explore early, maybe meet some people, maybe you go to a nature trail, maybe go to the mountains. For some people, maybe it's to go to the mall. You love to go shopping. You just made money, go shopping, meet some people, whatever. And then a lot of times you want to have some type of thing going on at night. Maybe you're watching a game. Maybe you're going to games. So if you're making enough money, you'll go to the NBA games. You'll go to the NFL games. You'll go to the MLB games, right? That are in your area, or you'll go to the college games. Okay. And then you're like, you know what? Maybe I want to help out at the games. Maybe I just want to watch. And you'll start thinking about it. You know what? What else could I do? There's entertainment. Maybe there's a comedy show. Dude, let's enjoy time with our family. And so now you're thinking of I made enough money by 10 a.m. I can do whatever I want the rest of the day, but I'm always gonna lock in 8 to 10 a.m. I'm locked in. A lot of people 8 to 10 they trade. Hey, 10 a.m. go to the gym. 10 a.m. go to the gym. Noon you're at lunch, and then from like 12 to 5 you're either building a social media or you're meeting people in person or whatever it is you have meetings going on, whatever, and then you have dinner 5 6 o'clock, and then you enjoy the evening after that, and then you go to bed on time so you can wake up on time as well. Okay, and that's typically how it works. So we're going to end it there so we don't drag this on too long, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for the next one.